We are going to be creating a report that's got some grouping levels, and it's going to be based on a query. And we do need to make a couple little modifications to the query before we can actually generate our report. And the query that we are going to be modifying is total work orders. So we'll go right into design view. And we want to add the customer ID field. And we want that to go right before service date. So I'm just going to drag it right where service date is, and service date will get kind of bumped off to the right. And then we're going to drag in the description field, and that should be from our work orders table as well. And that's going to go next to customer ID. So again, we're going to drag right on top of service date, and it'll bump service date over. And the rest of them should be okay. So let's save this and run it. And at this point, we will close. We're going to create a report based on this query, and we are going to group by service date, specifically by month. And we're going to be using the report wizard for this. So we're going to go into create and select report wizard. And then we're going to choose our query, and that is what is displayed. I'm going to move over all of our fields. And we're going to go ahead and click next. In this second wizard box, we have to say how things are going to be grouped. And right now, it is grouping by customer ID. And that is not how we want it grouped. So let's move that back over here. And the way we want it grouped is by service date. So let's select service date and move that over. And grouping is actually kind of important because it's how the data is organized in the report. And you can get subtotals, averages, different statistics based on changes in the group. So when the service month changes, from January to February, you can get January totals, February totals, that kind of thing. So we're going to go ahead and click on next. And now it wants to know how we want this thing sorted. So this is asking us, within month, how do we want records sorted? And we are going to choose work order. So they will be in work order. Ascending is fine. We're going to go ahead and click on next. So this deals with the layout of our report. And if you have a lot of fields, it is a good idea to display in landscape. Otherwise, your fields or your data ends up getting chopped off. And this little checkbox should be on, adjust the field width so all the fields fit on the page. We'll keep stepped, and then we're going to click on next. So what title do we want for our report? We're going to change this to work orders by month. Now the title is referring to what we see in the navigation pane. And by default, this will also be at the top of the report, but we can edit that and change it quite easily. So we're going to go ahead and click on finish. And we are previewing. We can see a little issue with service date already. We've got some text that looks like it's a little chopped off as well, but you can see that it is kind of broken down by month, and then within month, we have our work orders sorted. So we got a couple issues that we're going to need to take care of. So we are going to you can either go into layout view or design view. Since this chapter really deals with design view, I'm going to stay in design view for this. And they want us to try to match the example that they have in the book. So the first thing I'm going to do is kind of edit the title and put spaces between my words. And this certainly doesn't need to be that tall. And then it looks like they have a dark blue font. They did apply the organic theme, so we're going to go ahead and do that first. That is organic. Yeah. And then they have a dark blue font color. Let's go in here. And you know, it really doesn't matter to me what shade of blue you guys pick. I believe they have it bold. It's hard to tell. And then I'm going to click, oops, that needs to be a little lighter. Then I'm going to click in this grid area and change the color to light blue. And again, it doesn't really matter what shade of light blue. It's kind of hard to tell what they're using exactly. And then for the column headings. Okay, this should say service date by month instead of serve. And we'll probably want to move that control over. And you can see the word order is kind of chopped off, so let's display that. It's actually kind of a mess. Let's see. Maybe it might be easier to start over on the right-hand side. Parts does not need to be that big. This needs to be a little bigger. And for parts, let's make that smaller. Let's move that over. And for total labor, let's move that one over. I don't think that one needs to be quite so big either. Service date, remember, was a problem. We had hashtags. That definitely has to be bigger. And I want to move that as well. And the service date header, that was what had the month off to the side. That actually looked fine, so we're going to leave that alone. Description, I don't think we need to change that, other than maybe move it over just a tad, because we need a little more room for the customer ID. It should have a space. So I think at this point, we have the text that they want. So let's shift and click on all of this and change the font color to that darker blue. And then for the fill color, I'm going to click on the page header bar here. They want an even lighter shade than the one that we picked above. So I'm probably going to come down here and see how that looks. I don't notice much difference. Maybe I'll do this darker. Okay, so now we've got the lighter shade. And now we need to kind of move around the data in the detail section. Our header here is fine. It's our little group header. That's not a problem. Let's see. Okay, service by month, we're going to leave that alone. So we've got our work order that we're going to try to line up here. We've got our customer. We can probably move that over. Description, make that a little smaller. And these need some help. So let's make parts much smaller. Parts was the problem. I don't think any of those numbers are terribly large either. Let's move total labor. I'm going to resize that in service date, problem field. Make that bigger. And I think as far as the date and the page number, that looked fine. Let's save this. And we're going to take a look here. Does not look too bad, although parts has a bit of an issue. And total labor should have dollar signs in it. So we've got a couple things we need to fix. But it actually is not too far from what it needs to be. Let's go into design view. Okay, so we actually made parts too small. I'm going to resize total labor a little bit. And we'll make parts a little bigger. And these numbers are right aligned. And remember, you can change the alignment on things. That's done in the format ribbon. We said total labor should display with a dollar sign. So let's select that and go into properties here. And there is no format. That is the problem. We are going to display it with currency. Now let's save and take another look. That looks pretty good. We could move that title over a little bit for the perfectionists in the crowd. Just resizing it should do it. And if you're concerned about getting them kind of on the same horizontal plane, if you select, shift and click on these, and you go into arrange, you can use the align command, and you could align to the top or bottom. In this case, I would probably choose top. And you could do the same thing here. And basically, it just ensures that they're basically on that same horizontal alignment so that they match. Okay, and we will save our changes. And now let's go take a look. And that looks pretty good.